The reason behind this is because of how we think is important, how important AfCFTA is to Africa, and also how important the role of banks is in making it a success. Having attended different stakeholder engagement, what I realized is that those who are supposed to be helping the country finance trade transactions are conspicuously missing, probably because the bankers are not being invited, or those that are invited don't get to make it to the program. And we have taken upon ourselves to run these seminars. We've done for quite a number of banks, and we still have several lined up, different batches. And the objective basically is to be able to get individuals to have an understanding of AfCFTA. What are the implications? What are the benefits? And of course, for us as a bank, how do we prepare adequately to be able to take advantage presented to all the banks by the African Continental Free Trade Agreement? So at the end of this session, I will have gone through my preamble, then performance. By performance, I basically mean how have we fared, what have we done, how much have we done as a nation in terms of export, particularly within the Africa and West Africa sub-region. Then also, I'm talking about potentials of AfCFTA, or potential for growth under AfCFTA. Also the processes, what will change as far as the current export process in Nigeria is concerned, what is going to change. Also the propensities, and by propensity I mean, what are the implications of this program or this agreement on Nigeria, on our economy, and then the problems. And by problem, I mean the challenges we tend to face. Then how should the bank prepare? What does the bank need to do? A bank like Citibank have an advantage already because of your network around the world, particularly also in Africa. I don't know how many branches you have or location you have, but I know definitely you are in probably quite a number of countries in Africa. And so what should we be doing to take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement? And lastly, what are the benefits? What are the benefits? What are the benefits? So at the end of this session, I expect that we'll be able to have a basic understanding of AfCFTA. What are the products? What's the process? The market available? How do we leverage on AfCFTA for income and deposit? Possibilities for Nigerian business under AfCFTA, the challenges, how does the bank prepare, and what's the market entry strategy? AfCFTA is a part of the Agenda 2063 of Africa. That's when AU will become 100 years. And during the meeting in Abuja, 1991, Abuja Treaty, one of the objectives at that meeting, the agreement reached at that meeting, was to establish a free trade area. Ultimately, we also want to have a common market with common external tariff, and also gradually remove the obstacles to free movement of persons on the continent. And also to have rights of residence, and also to establish organizations. In the theory of economic integration, the lowest level is the preferential trade arrangement or agreement. A good example would be AGOA, Africa Growth Opportunity Act, that enables Sub-Saharan Africa to trade duty-free with other African countries, with America rather, duty-free with America. It's a preferential trade agreement, usually between developed and developing countries or underdeveloped countries. But in this agreement, we are on the second level, which is the free trade agreement, where we have free trading between countries. Involve a formal trade and free trading between countries. Free trading in the sense that if I'm shipping my good to Kenya, I will not pay duty. If I'm shipping my good to Congo, I will not pay duty. If I'm shipping my good to Botswana, I will not pay duty. That will make African countries to be more competitive compared to other developed nations, because we will have been able to reduce the cost of importing that good into that country by 20, 30, and in some cases 40%, depending on the duty currently being paid for those products to enter into those countries. Depending on the price currently being paid for those products to be able to enter into those countries. But the next level is common market. Common market. Sorry, custom union before common market. Custom union. In the custom union arrangement, you have a free trade area, but you also have common external tariff. You have a free trade area, but you also have common external tariff. In common external tariff arrangement, you have a situation where I am able to ship to an African country, and every time I ship to any African country, I will pay the same duty in every African country. I will pay the same duty in every African country. Because those countries have common external tariff. We currently have this kind of arrangement in ECOWAS, under the ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme. Then we have common market. These are all plans for economic integration. And Africa is working in this direction to make this a reality. So we can easily trade freely among ourselves on the African continent. Common market means there is a free trade agreement or free trade area, there's a common external tariff, and in addition, there is a free mobility of the factor of production, like labor, capital. This is why I can move freely on the African continent, West African sub-region rather, without looking for visa. Then, economic union. EU have attained this. EU have obtained this because currently EU have single currency, harmonized economic policies. The ultimate is to have political union when you have common judicial body and shared sovereignty. This agreement have 6 protocols or 6 subsections or 6 branches. The one that is being spoken about frequently is the trade in goods. But it's also important to know that there is trade in services. It's important to know that there is dispute resolution mechanism. There is also investment and intellectual property right. Investment and intellectual property right. And then competition policy. Trade in goods, services, and dispute resolution has been negotiated, concluded. Services was not fully concluded before, but now is being concluded. The reason why this agreement is unique is the dispute resolution mechanism, which many agreements in the world do not have. Maybe if we have this agreement or arrangement, most likely we will not have closed our border like we did the last time. The closure of our border could have been handled easily. But we closed our border because there was no means of resolving that issue. And I just came back from Kano. We had a CBN engagement in Kano with customs and some other agency just on export facilitation. And someone was talking about the reason why they had to close that border, that the last meeting they had with Benin on that border issue did not end well. And they didn't have option but to close the border because Benin was not ready to agree to the comply with the agreement reached under the ETLS protocol. And there was no dispute resolution mechanism. There was no dispute resolution mechanism. Now we have a dispute resolution mechanism. You know, so what is making this agreement different is the fact that if there are issues now, we know where to go. We know how to handle it. The goal of the agreement basically is to facilitate trade on the African continent so that an average business can have more market, and in having more market, is able to create more jobs, and in creating more jobs, is able to reduce poverty, inequality, hunger on the continent. So the arrangement really is to reduce hunger, poverty on the African continent. Now, there are concerns about this agreement. Valid concern about the fact that what if you open our border, no duty payment, and different products enter into our country, and our country become a dumping ground? I'm not sure that will happen under AfCFTA. Why? Because there are safeguards. You know, it's not just Nigeria that have that concern, even though we seem to have more because we believe that we are the main market, after all, out of every African, out of every 6 African, there is 1 Nigerian, because Nigeria is 200 million people. Nigeria is 200 million people out of 1.2 billion people. 200 million people out of 1.2 billion people. But other African countries have similar concern. Other African countries have similar concern. Everybody is trying to protect his territory. If you think Nigerian economy is fragile or Nigerian economy is monocultural, you know, I do a seminar every Thursday by 5 p.m. and I've been moving around African country. I started with Angola, Algeria. Yesterday we did Congo DRC, and we're going to Zimbabwe. I can tell you that Nigeria is still a lot better than many African countries. So if Nigeria have that concern, be rest assured that many other African countries have similar concerns. Be rest assured that many other African countries have similar concerns. Understandably so. Understandably so. Why? Because many African countries are underdeveloped, probably less developed than Nigeria. Many of them are underdeveloped and probably less developed than Nigeria. So whichever way we look at it, we are better off. However, in the midst of all that, there is a safeguard to protect African countries. To protect African countries. One of the safeguards is what you are seeing on the screen. The total HS code for all the products in the world has been divided into sensitive list, non-sensitive list, and exclusive list. Exclusive will not be allowed by any country. If a country put anything on an exclusive list, that will not be allowed to enter that country. The country is basically saying that this part of our economy is too fragile. We cannot afford to open it up. I'm sure that Nigeria will put rice under that. Nigeria will put rice under that because of what the government is trying to do as far as the issue of rice is concerned. What am I saying in essence? There are safeguards. Only 90% of the HS code of traded goods in the world will be allowed duty-free on the African continent. Only 90%. Remember, there are about 5,000 plus HS code, 5,000 plus HS code. 90% will be allowed. 7% is sensitive. Sensitive means it will be liberalized over a period of 10 years. That means every year there will be a 10% reduction in duty of product that is put under sensitive to give room for all African countries to develop those sectors of the economy. But the issue is that at the end of the day, either we like it or not, we have to still liberalize 97%. But that's after a period of 10 years. Currently, 54 countries have signed, 36 have ratified. Who are those yet to ratify? Countries like, who are those yet to sign? Only one country, and that is Eritrea. Eritrea is the only country that is yet to sign. Eritrea is the only country that is yet to sign. Eritrea is the only country that is yet to sign. 36 are ratified, and for the agreement to start implementation, 22 have to ratify, and 36 are ratified. That's why it was launched for trading to start officially January 2021. January 2021. January 2021. Let's check the performance. What is the performance? So far, how have we fared as a nation? Talking about Nigeria, talking about Africa, how have we fared as a nation as far as AfCFTA is concerned? Look at what has happened. COVID affected us last year, but if you look at 2019, you can see the quantum of export, 62.5. Although that volume of export, as high as it seems, is lower than what South Africa did. South Africa did about 90 something. South Africa is about 1.5, about 50% more than Nigerian export. 50% more than Nigerian export. South Africa. So what has happened is that COVID has reduced the volume of trade, understandably so. But let's go deeper into what constitutes a good chunk of those goods. You will notice something from this chart, that a good amount of the manufactured good export of Nigeria, of export of Nigeria is manufactured goods. Now remember, this is non-oil. Of course, 85% of export from Nigeria is oil. 85% is oil. So the focus here is non-oil. I'm just simply saying that I know we have a lot of customers who are multinational. Those customers Those customers are the one we are talking about here. Those customers are the one that you will be able to take advantage of AfCFTA. Those your customer into different kind of manufactured goods. Your customer that are into one manufacturing or the other are the one that will be able to take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. You know what's also interesting about AfCFTA that I must say is this. As I go through the processes, I mean the Maximize AfCFTA seminar that we do every week across African countries, something was very obvious. Number one, majority of African countries are at the lowest level. And by lowest level, I mean low-income countries. And there seems to be a correlation between low income and two things: high level of consumption, household consumption. When you check the consumption component of the GDP, the household consumption component of the GDP of many African countries is very high. Sometimes 60, 70, 80%. That's a good news for your customers, the multinationals. That's a good news for them. A very, very good news for them. Why? Because those customers, multinationals, those customers already have manufactured goods that have potential to do well in West Africa, in other parts of Africa. Some of them already shipping to West Africa, actually. And it would be great if you can educate them about the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Very good if you can educate them about it. So that's why we also need to have the information to be able to pass that information across to our customers. To pass the information across to our customers. Still emphasizing what we sell in Africa. Consumer goods, value-added goods. Current data reveal that currently, when you look at this African country, can you see export to Africa? ECOWAS, another African country. What do we export the most? Not agric. Can you see the agric level of Africa? Can you see the mineral level of export to Africa? Can you see the manufacturing level of export to Africa? Nigeria is doing a lot in value-added export to African countries. Nigeria is doing a lot in value-added export to African countries. The data reveal that. The data reveal that. In spite of the volume of export Nigeria is doing, when you look at it in monetary terms, there is more money made in the little manufactured goods shipped compared to the agric. Why? When you export commodity, you export job and import poverty. When you export commodity, you export job and import poverty. When you export value-added products, that's when you are creating value and supporting the economy. This is so important. This is so important. And you can see the trend that Africa and Nigeria is already doing a lot of shipment to African countries. Nigeria is already doing a lot of shipment to African countries. We need to be deliberate, encouraging our customer to be able to. So why is AfCFTA important? Look at this data. Africa has 1.2 billion people. Africa has 1.2 billion people. EU is about 500. Actually less than 500, 400 plus. EU with a population of less than 500 is contributing 33% of trade in the world. 33% of trade in the world. EU alone. Guess how many Africa is contributing? Africa is not doing well at all. Africa is contributing 2.6, 1.2 billion people. 2.6, 1.2 billion people, 2.6%. Not a good one for us at all. What is very interesting about that data is that intra-African trade is just about 17-18%. But guess what? Intra-EU trade is almost 70%. So you can now understand why. You can now understand why. You can now understand why EU is doing that much. 70% of the 33% contribution of EU trade to the world is intra-EU trade. Remember the population? 500 million people. 500 million people. This is what necessitates AfCFTA. This is what necessitates AfCFTA. This is why AfCFTA is highly imperative for us on the African continent. This is why also we at Great Impairs have taken upon ourselves to organize a free seminar session for Nigerian banks so that as you go to meet your customers, you can easily talk to them about the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. You can easily talk to them about African Continental Free Trade Agreement and how they can benefit from it. And how they can benefit from it. And how they can benefit from it. Remember the objective? The objective is to ensure that we create more jobs on the African continent. Why? When we create more jobs on the African continent, we reduce poverty and reduce inequality and help the continent to grow. So let's look at the potential. What are the potential products that are sellable under AfCFTA? So what we did was to check out what does African currently import. Most likely, if they currently import it from other African country, they will most likely import it under AfCFTA. If they currently import it from most African country, they will most likely import it under AfCFTA. What does African countries currently import? What does African country currently import? Before then, let's look at AFDB, African Development Bank report that shows product with untapped export potential from fruit to vegetable to apparel, metal, paper product, ferrous metal, sugar, fertilizer, plastic, rubber, confectionaries, and the like. Chemical, beauty, and cosmetics. Can you imagine the volume of beauty and cosmetics? Machinery, minerals. Then, among some of the products, we identified the 90 products. Petrol, car, wheat, fillet fish, rice, corn, gold, pesticide, poultry, meat, furniture, malt extract, cold briquette, You know, coal briquette is made from sawdust and other organic matter. Do you know, if you're on Third Mainland in Lagos, you will see the people burning that thing to create more space for more waste. In an environment where knowledge is given the attention it deserves, nothing is wasted. But in our country, everything is wasted. Everything is wasted. Nitrogen fertilizer, frozen bovine, dry legume, plastic pipe, all these are exportable products. Why? African countries currently import this from all over the world. Basically saying that this item are the item we should consider. So I don't know if you have customers that are into a production of any of these items. These are the items to consider. This is just part of them. There's so many other products. As a matter of fact, any product that Nigeria currently use have provision under AfCFTA, has opportunity under AfCFTA. Any product Nigeria currently use, if we are using it, most likely other African country will use it. Most likely other African country will use it. AfCFTA is capable of ensuring that 85% of oil and gas being exported is reduced in the quantum of export in terms of percentage contribution to that export, because we expect all these 15% non-oil export to also begin to increase. Processes, what will change in the export process? If you are familiar with the step-by-step export process, that's what I'm sharing on the screen. So what will change? What will most likely change in the export process is now going to be those areas in red. The exporter needs to be registered. The product of the exporter needs to be registered for the product to be eligible under AfCFTA. And that's basically saying that not all Nigerian manufacturers are going to be able to trade under AfCFTA duty-free. Only those that currently source their raw material in Africa, in Nigeria, or those that will rework their supply chain to start sourcing in Africa, are the ones that will enjoy the benefit of duty-free access on the African continent. Remember, if we don't do that, China is going to ship to Nigeria through Morocco, and they're going to label it as Moroccan product. Hence, the concept of the rule of origin being applied. Now, to be able to deem your product to be originating product and be able to export under AfCFTA, you will need to apply. Your customer will apply. The process for application is being worked on. Hopefully in April, we should have that information. Remember, Nigeria did not ratify on time. We signed late and ratified late. Hence the reason why we are still at this point at this time. Because different organized private sector had issue with that agreement, and different research were done to assess the impact before they were able to, government was able to convince them to sign. Nigeria was bidding for the secretariat of AfCFTA. But guess what? Ghana was also bidding While Nigeria was waiting, yet to sign, Ghana has signed and ratified. Ghana became the headquarters of the AfCFTA. The Director General of AfCFTA works from Ghana. He's a South African, but he works from Ghana. Ghana donated a building to them and was launched last year. When I process my C of O, I will use it to process my pre-export documentation. It's also going to be part of my post-export documentation. So you will notice that the export process is likely unchanged, just some additional process, which was orchestrated or will be orchestrated by the certificate of origin. Certificate of origin will be issued to exporter after the factory has been inspected to be sure that the product, remember, is an originating product with substantial value addition or substantial raw material or substantial processing on the African continent. To take advantage of the export market under AfCFTA, an exporter needs to examine the African market to know where its products are in high demand, to investigate the market, to know what the packaging and labeling require entails, to make necessary adjustment in product quality and packaging, to ascertain the language. If you want to play in the African continent, you might want to ensure you have at least French and English as labeling on your product. This is what our customer needs to be aware of, so that whatever market I find myself, I am already prepared to enter that market because of the labeling of my product. Before I close, what are the propensities, predisposition, or the implication for Nigeria? In the short term, there will be decline in government revenue, decline in GDP and government savings, decline in balance of trade with Africa as imports will grow faster than export. But this will partially offset the rise in the price of export due to rising demand.
Yes,
A decline in consumer price due to imports will also cause low inflation. It's also expected there will be significant increase in imports. Why? Because products that are having duty of 10-20% that will now not have duty payment again, we make a lot of import of those products to come into the country. It is also expected that the manufacturing subsector will have this, according to MAN, the report of the research done by MAN, that we expect growth and more investment and hence more jobs in the paper, printing, publishing, metal, iron, steel, textile, apparel, footwear, and chemical and pharmaceutical subsector of the economy. In addition to this, on the other hand, rather, the AfCFTA also is likely going to negatively impact on electronic and electrical, motor vehicle assembly, food, beverages, and tobacco, plastic, and rubber. In the long run, or in the long term, agri trade will rise on the continent. Manufactured good export will rise because of investment in the productive sector. In fact, we are expecting those countries that have market in Africa that will not be competitive again because of AfCFTA to come and set up in Africa. So we expect the manufacturing sector to rise, to grow. Interest rate is likely going to rise due to high demand for credit to satisfy the export market. The exchange rate will be pressured in the short term as import will grow faster, but in the long term, it will appreciate as demand stabilizes because exports will likely take over import afterwards. Increase in production and service capability and trade within and outside Africa will also create jobs opportunity for both low and highly skilled persons. Of course, we expect ease of movement of person because now we need to do more business together. So you can't lock down your country. You need to give ease of movement. So we expect easy access to many African countries without visa. Of course, there are problems. Even though, in my opinion, the problems are not enough to stop us because we're not the only one faced with that problem. As I review African economy, starting from Angola down to Zimbabwe, I've done about 14 countries, and I can say categorically, Nigeria is still a lot better than many African countries. So we have every reason to take advantage of AfCFTA. If you look at the competitiveness index, Nigeria is like number 14 or 15 in Africa. You still have a lot of other countries under Nigeria. In West Africa, Nigeria is number 4. You still have a lot of countries after Nigeria. So Nigeria is not doing so bad, sincerely, even though we can do a lot better, which is what we must advocate for, that we should do better than we are doing, which I agree with totally and completely. We can do a lot better than we are doing right now. However, Nigeria is still the largest exporter in West Africa. 40% to 45% of export in West Africa is done formal export. If you add the informal to it, maybe about 60% of export in West Africa. But anyway, Nigeria also is the largest country, not just in West Africa, on the whole African continent. But we are still having issue with corruption, inflation, and ease of doing business. Those problems are still with us, very much with us. Those problems are real. And they are still very much with us. Those problems are real and are still very much with us. But like I said, why man eventually have to allow government to go ahead with this agreement? Why we are following up hard on government to do what they need to do? We can't be left behind under AfCFTA because Nigeria, in my opinion, is fully ready to take advantage of it, at least in many sectors, if not all sectors. So what should we be doing as a bank to be able to prepare for this agreement? Number 1, communication. Number 2, capacity building. Number 3, collaboration. Number 4, commitment. Number 5, cooperation. And number 6, coordination. Number 1, communication. Our customer need to know we don't have branches and access to customer like you do. You can help this customer to know and to prepare for this agreement. This is so important. The information about the program, about the product, how to promote their business, how to get buyers, purchasers, the paperwork involved, the payment process, the policy and procedure involved, and the people they need to talk to get themselves ready to maximize the potential of African market under the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Capacity building. You know, for you as an individual, I must say that one of the critical area of banking for the future that is going to grow tremendously in Africa is trade. So if you're in trade as a person, or you have trade customer, or you're a marketer, if you're going to be able to meet your objective as a marketer, you know what? If you're going to be able to meet your objective as a marketer, you must of necessity learn about how to take advantage of African market under AfCFTA. This is so critical and so important. Why? Because you need to be able to understand product issues, pricing issues. You are going to finance them anyway. Purchasers issue, payment issue, paperwork issue, and a lot of other issues around export business, international trade, financing, as it relates to Africa and under the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. So there is this an area I think anyone that still wants to grow his career in banking must of necessity develop himself. You want to do certification program in trade, I think export will make a lot of sense. I think trade finance will make a lot of sense. Why? Because of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Collaboration. Banks need to collaborate with other banks. And you also have to collaborate with your subsidiaries in other parts of African countries. And like I said, I don't know how many locations where you are in Africa, but really, you have an advantage on the African continent, I must say. Because of your network, I guess. And you can leverage on this network in different countries in Africa to be able to connect customers. Collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. AFDB, AfroExim, NISAL, NEPC, NEXIM, NASIMA, collaboration. Then, cooperation within the bank from export desk officers, business development unit, credit risk management, foreign and local operation. The management also must be deliberate. You know, the reason why export is not growing in many banks is because in most cases, the management sometimes is not favorably disposed. So the management commitment becomes important to finance strategic product under AfCFTA, to have a well-skilled export desk officer, market-facing export desk officer, to have AfCFTA or export champion in regions or branches, probably also NXP count as KPI. You know, when it's on KPI, and every banker wants to do something serious about it. So every bank needs a vision, a goal that they want to achieve under AfCFTA. That needs to be broken down into objective, the sectors that is going to be financed to achieve that objective, then the strategy to get across to that sector and not be a force in that sector. And this dovetails into the kind of planning we have and ultimately the daily activity of the staff. As I close, I would like to talk about the profit, the benefit. So what's the benefit of AfCFTA? First of all, it's important to know the potential export customer. You see those importers looking for foreign exchange? They are the one you need to market to begin to consider export under AfCFTA. And there are other companies looking to generate forex, to diversify their income and keep their money in forex because of the devaluation of Naira. Some manufacturers are looking for market abroad. so the recession in local economy does not affect them. There are established exporters looking for market in African country. They've been exporting to other country, but now in African country. Intended exporters looking for market for their product, and of course, government agencies looking to get market for their SMEs. You have source of deposit from the fund for raw materials. You have source of deposit from the labor fund. You have source of deposit from the clearing and forwarding fund. And of course, the export proceed FS liquidity is another source for you. So you also have access to interest income, float income, NSP charges, account maintenance charges as sources of income for this customer. Please, you can begin to drop your question. I'm rounding up. Someone already dropped a question. You can drop your question in the chat box. And if you drop your number, we'll send the presentation to you via WhatsApp and the recording to you via WhatsApp. If you drop your number also, we can send presentation to you via WhatsApp and the recording to you via WhatsApp. So you can also drop your question like Aaron has done. I will look at those questions immediately. We round off shortly. Benefit to the exporter. Potential benefit of AfCFTA to export customer include exporting duty-free to African countries, utilization of idle and excess capacity, building immunity against impact of recession in local economy, growth in market share in other African countries, generation of cheaper foreign exchange to fund import of raw materials, reduction of non-tariff barriers to export leading to low cost of trade on the continent, overall increase in turnover and profitability of the business. How about the importers? Importers have benefit. They can import duty-free also. If they decide to source their raw material from African continent and also sell to African continent, they can get cheaper sort of forex. If they decide to rework their supply chain on the African continent, they can reduce their cost of raw materials through backward integration or reworking their supply chain to be able to source raw material from the continent. Because they are shipping to African countries, there could be reduction in their cash conversion cycle because of short transit time. Also importing at a cheaper rate when compared to other countries outside Africa, and increased competitiveness because of low cost of importation. Because of low cost of importation. Lastly, let me talk to you about some of our training programs that might be of interest to you. We are basically a trade development company, trade professional development company. We have corporate training programs and personal development training programs. On the implant training program, we have AfCFTA maximization, strategic planning and framework for bankers, leveraging on AfCFTA to grow export proceed, AfCFTA maximizing potential for export market, AfCFTA exploring exportable product, and importing from other African countries under AfCFTA. On other training program on exports, we have marketing, managing, and multiplying export trade customers, structuring and selling export finance products and services, managing and monitoring export business financing, fundamental principle of financing agri and mineral export, handling emerging support services for exporters, handling emerging support services for exporters. On the personal level, you can join this free seminar every Thursday by 5 p.m. This is the free seminar I told you about that allow us to go through different African countries. And you can have an idea of the opportunity in those markets and also be able to tell your customer about them. I have dropped the link where you can get the previous videos of this program. This particular program, maximizing the potential of African market under AfCFTA, we have done 13 African countries. We'll be doing Cote d'Ivoire next week. If you want to see the video to all the previous editions, if you click on that link, it's a Telegram channel. Immediately you click on it, you have access to the previous video on that Telegram channel. I've dropped the Telegram channel on the chat box. Remember, you can have access to this video also by we'll send the link to this video on YouTube to you on WhatsApp. To drop your number on the chat box, we'll drop the link for you. We have Executive Diploma in Export Business Management and Export Trade Finance. Remember the future of trade in Africa? You can acquire skill and competence to take advantage of that market, being able to finance your customers, and being able to help your customer take advantage of this opportunity. Through this program, the importer can generate Forex. Through this program, the importers can become an export merchant. And you can be able to finance them effectively, be able to monitor the trade transaction, and be able to finance them effectively. Executive Diploma in Export Business Management from the American Institute of Extended Studies. Executive Diploma in Export Trade Finance from the American Institute of Extended Studies. Certified Specialist in Trade Finance covering import-export financing from the American Institute of Extended Studies. Certified Intermediate Trade Professional for Continuous Trade Professional Development. For this training program, you pay to the school. You can pay to the school directly using Form A so you can reduce your cost. But we are currently giving 50% discount for tutorials for anyone that is joining this program, any of this program in the month of April. Registration is currently ongoing for that. As I conclude, I would like to say that if we want to diversify our economy, if we want to create more jobs in Africa, if we want to grow our GDP, if we want to create employment, if we want to boost our foreign reserve, if we want to increase wealth on the African continent, if we want to reduce poverty, there's need for aggressive drive for interregional trade on the African continent. Thank you very much. Let me entertain your question. All right, I can see some questions. If you have questions, you can raise up your hand so I can call you and then you can ask your question, or you drop it in the chat box. There is a question from Aaron that says, as the largest market for consumer goods in Africa, don't you think that the short-term impact may take a toll on Nigeria manufacturers, most of whom have high operating expense due to infrastructure challenges in the country? How do we overcome this and make our local manufacturers more competitive and prevent them from moving production to more accommodating countries? Interesting question. These are valid concerns, and this is why man resisted signing this agreement so that government can give its commitment to ameliorate their challenges. So recently, government started a program to ameliorate the challenge of exporters who are manufacturers. And that program is Export Development Program. No, Export Expansion Fund. Export Expansion Fund. This fund is supporting manufacturers in different ways, exporters in different ways. And the idea is to find a way to reduce their cost it's about 50 billion naira, is to reduce their cost and to help Nigerian manufacturers to be able to export at a competitive rate. At a competitive rate. That's one of the things government is doing. Apart from the fact that also government is working on a sea-link project to ensure that they won't have to ship by road, but ship by sea to other African countries so as to reduce the transit time and to reduce the cost of shipment at the end of the day. Aaron, I don't know if I've been able to answer your question. How can the language barrier be overcome? That's Michael. By SMEs. How can language barrier be overcome? By SMEs. To overcome language barrier, having a partner at destination is what I would recommend. Language is a big challenge, but it could be turned to an advantage if you work on it. Language is a big challenge, but it could turn to advantage if you work on it. So in my opinion, I think we can work around the issue of language. on the African continent by having a rep at destination. Having a rep at destination who is a locale that can help in the marketing and sales of the product. Any other comment or question before we close? Any other comment or question, please? Hello, Judy, I'm done if there is no question.
Hello, I can see a question from Temisan dropped in the chat.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that. Sorry, let me check. Oh, okay. There are 3 questions actually. I didn't see them. One is from IBM. He says, is free trade really free? Does it mean that trading country will not earn revenue? Yes. They won't earn revenue on the liberalized product. It's really free because of the short reduction in revenue in the short term. AfCFTA have made some billions of dollars available from which African country can draw from to be able to ameliorate the impact of the short reduction in revenue that they will experience as a result of AfCFTA, pending when they will be able to adjust based on the positive impact AfCFTA will also be having on the economy in terms of revenue of government from other taxes. Then Temison, sorry. He said, how will commodity exchange impact CFTA? And are there plans to establish a Pan-African commodity exchange on back of AfCFTA? I'm not sure if there is a plan, but it would be a good idea if a plan is in place, and I will not be surprised if a plan is in place. I feel a commodity exchange, as we currently have that CBN is driving, is going to seriously help us to effectively and efficiently fund commodity export under AfCFTA. But like I've said, commodity will not be able to do so well under AfCFTA because majority of African countries are agrarian economy. So they already produce this commodity. What I think will work best is value added. But definitely a commodity exchange is going to help in the growth of the Continental Free Trade Agreement. Someone said government must be deliberate in fulfilling the agreement with man, else local manufacturer will be, yes, I agree with you, Aaron, very correct. Good enough, man is part of the implementation committee, so they are always with government on all fronts to ensure that government keep its promises. Any other comment or question, please? Remember, the program is being recorded. If you want a repeat of the video or the slide, you can drop a message, drop your number on the chat, and we will get back to you. Any question or comment before we close?
Okay, this is Judy. So a few people have reached out to me that they are unable to, for some whatever reason, type on the chat box. So
no, they can unmute
if you're
themselves.
Interested in getting the recording, you can.
Why can't they unmute themselves?
Again, it depends on the system being used. So whoever is having this challenge anyway, listening, you can always contact me. Yeah. You can always contact me and I'll share your number so that I can forward it so you can get the recordings as you desire.
All right. I think we are done.
Okay. So in the absence of any other questions, Bamdele, on behalf of all of us at CITI, we thank you very much for taking out.
I can't hear you. Hello.
Your time and sharing of it. That's it. So we'll reach out to you individually or collectively as we, to get some of these recordings and other things.
All right.
Thank you so very much. And for all of us who joined, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you.